Hello, everyone. Welcome to the You Gotta Be Bullshilling Me podcast. This is your host, Brian C. Schilling, live from Los Angeles, California. No politically correct bullshit on this show. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday and a happy fucking New Year. I don't know about you all, but I sure as fuck couldn't wait for 2020 to be gone. What a dog shit fucked up year. For me personally, I fucking hate odd numbers. So 2020 was like gum on the bottom of my shoe. Finally, I got an odd number year already. So the news of the day, our California governor locked us down again. Tom Hanks reveals that he is now bald, and Billie Eilish reveals the real story behind her mullet haircut. Today on our show, we have a very, very special guest. You will all know him as Nomar from the first season of Power. The sexy Brazilian, he's hot, he's got the trot, and on our show, we drink Red Bull and smoke pot. Why? Because if you fuck with the bull, you get the horns, motherfucker. So, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Vinicius Zorin-Machado. Vinicius, how are you, bud?
I'm excited to be on your show. I'm excited to be here with you, and just grateful for a whole new year.
Absolutely. First off, I just want to say Happy New Year to you, to your family. May 2021 bring you nothing but health, happiness, and good fortune. So Happy New Year, pal.
Likewise, man. It's already brought into good fortune by being on your show. First day off the new year. Let's go.
Yes, day one of 2021. You're right. And thanks again for taking the time today to be on our #1 podcast. It's a pleasure to have you. And again, like I said, happy holidays and happy new year.
Yes,
so,
likewise.
Thank you so much. So the first things first, Vinicius, okay. We're going to get into a whole thing here on the show. But the first things first, and it's pretty obvious, and I wanted to ask you personally, how has COVID-19 affected you and your career?
Very heavily, actually, from the overnight shift of the industry to the uncertainty that COVID-19 has brought, I guess, to everybody, but specifically to this industry, as unreliable as it is in and of itself. Now it's looking even more daunting for, I guess, aspiring artists, but you know, for us who have been very privileged to be able to remain in it for 2 decades, how do you continue? So all of these uncertainties, these questions have come to plague us at the forefront of our lives, whereas, you know, some people like myself have been able to find some sort of sustainability towards continuing to remain in the industry, if you will, and figuring out the ins and outs and how to continue to be able to pursue what you love in the midst of having to be able to provide and so forth and so on, and just living life day to day. Now it's a whole question of how do you do that when the whole world has stopped and the whole industry has shifted. And so it's brought a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainties, a lot of adaptations, and a lot of new rules and regulations. So there's a lot of empty space, if you will, that is very scary, but at the same time, very, how do I say it? Exciting at the same time, because, you know, when something old is put off and something new comes along, it has to be for the better. And I think as part of the human spirit goes, we tend to always come out on the other side stronger for it. But you know, it's, the challenge now is how does that apply, and how do we move forward from here with this? So I don't know if there's a one, you know, one color or one dimensional answer that, or one straightforward answer, I should say, as to how, but I mean, in many different ways, I guess I can put it.
It sounds like what you're saying is basically we have to adapt to the cards and play the cards that were dealt. Kind of like, you know, you get a shit stain in your underwear and you got to throw them in the garbage. You just go and put on a new pair of underwear, but you got to adapt to that new pair of underwear. So it's definitely, I can understand what you're saying. I mean, it's definitely one of those things where it's, you're dealt the hand that you're dealt, and you got to make the best of it. I think that what you said, 2 decades of being in the industry, and your passion for the industry, I'm sure that you have, yourself personally, been able to adapt and will be able to adapt. And that leads to my next question for you, Vinicius, which is, what would you do if you couldn't work in the entertainment industry for another 6 months? Let's say the industry was locked down again, Governor Newsom locks us down again. What would you do if you couldn't create for another 6 months?
That's a very, very good question. I don't know that I would do anything else, to be honest with you. I mean, I do think that I'm a very skillful person. I've been very gifted and privileged to have been gifted with many different abilities by God's grace. I've tapped into different industries, and I tend to consider myself a very small entrepreneur, if you will. But
Yeah,
I've been offered, different things in the past and career paths, and I guess you could say a little bit more safety route of life, but I've turned it down at every single point. I'll say I was working for a very well-established investment firm that was doing,
amazing.
yeah, this is way back in the days, but I still stay somewhat connected with them through some family members, but they made me an offer, to quit the industry and to do something that was a little bit more financially sustainable. And I chose not to go down that path because I didn't come out here to make money necessarily. I know money is a huge part, and I've had to learn my lessons in that area as well, of being able to sustain yourself as an artist, and art in and of itself has a huge, I don't know how to say it necessarily here, but I've always created. I've always found a way to create, even when I didn't have the ability to. It's like El Pacino once said, you could lock me up in a prison and take all the crayons and papers. I would spit on my fingers and write on the wall. I'm an artist. I create.
Absolutely.
And I think that's, for me, is, the same. I feel the same way. If I was completely stripped of that desire, and then that's a different thing. But as far as not having the ability in today's world, I don't think that that's a reality anymore. I think it's just a matter of, whether or not you want it as bad as you say you want it, because with phones and social media and all that, if you're a creator, you create. So if the desire was taken away, I'd probably, I don't know, get into something like, selling, or, I don't know, translating or something with languages, or traveling or something along those lines. But
yeah, that's great. And I
yeah.
definitely know, and doing some, I obviously, went through your social media and your IMDb and this, that, and the other. And, I know that you definitely are a creator. And I want to ask you, because I understand that what you're doing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Vinicius, but what I understand is that you want to focus more on the behind the camera operations of productions rather than on camera. Is that is that accurate?
Yeah, that's a great observation. Yeah, I appreciate you supporting and looking out and checking out our social media as well. Yeah, I think you hit the nail right
Absolutely.
on the head.
You're welcome.
As a matter of fact, I see myself, this is probably the last year. It's funny, my wife and I have been talking about it. This is the last year I'm probably going to be doing things in front of the camera. God willing, after this year, I see myself completely and permanently behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Now, can you tell us what it is that you're currently working on, or is it proprietary? Maybe some stuff that, some project you have in the pipeline?
Yeah, I mean, you know how the industry goes. So
yeah, a lot of cherry pickers in this motherfucking town, I'll tell you that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not so much that I'm afraid Yeah. So yeah. So a lot of cherry picking. So there's a few things that we're working on. But I guess I'll say it this way for the purpose of the audience listening is that we are continuing to take our skills set and our projections to the next level. And this year, we're counting on being able to duplicate what we've done in the last year so that within the next 2 to 3 years, we're the predominant, if not the preeminent, independent film production company out there.
Uh-huh.
Um,
That's
and doing
wonderful.
things from all kinds of genres to all kinds of different cultures and coasts and so forth and so on. So that's our focus right now. It's just continuing to create. We do have a plan for the coming year, which we are in. But at this point, it's just create, 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 create.
Yeah, and that's that's amazing. Good for you and congratulations, mazel mazel. And with hard work comes good rewards.
Yeah.
Another thing that I noticed too is that, or that I read about you too, is that you did a lot of philanthropy work, and you also won a humanitarian award. And I know too that just based on the things that I'm reading and the photos that I see of you with your family and your wife and your children, it seems to me, and it's very obvious, that you're a true family man and a true husband and a true father. And going into our new year of 2021, today is the first day of the new year. What are your 2021 goals for you, your wife, your career, your children? Can you tell us a little bit about what you have, in mind for your family?
Yeah, definitely. It's a really good question. I try to be a good family man, and to lead by example. That's my motto. I'm not always perfect at it. As a matter of fact, I falter a lot. So I am very grateful to have a very patient and humbled wife who supports me and is always there to help guide the way
That's
through her
wonderful.
example. So yeah, I'm very fortunate in that regard. So for me, it's just continuing to focus more on that. We do have a motto that we've come up with, which is focus more on God first, our marriage second, our family third, and then vocation, will, career, whatever you want to call it, that's the fourth. So as
Can
long
you,
as I keep,
not to interrupt, can you repeat that for our audience, please? Because that's genius and it's beautiful and that's it's so heartfelt. Um,
yeah,
Tell us again what
yeah,
you're focusing on, please.
yeah, our focus is God first, and then our marriage comes second, and then our children come third, and then the career, will, volition, whatever we're after is an objective that comes fourth.
Beautiful.
As long as we keep that um, in perspective first and foremost, and then in that particular order, then we just continue, learning, and with the learning, we continue growing. With the growing, we continue living, and that's it. For us, there's not much more. The grass is not greener on the other side because we're not anxious for anything else. We know what we want. We know who we are, and we're not necessarily following any bandwagons or in a hurry to get anything. We're just seeking to grow so that we can continue to learn, and then with it continue to live. So as long as things continue to stay in that order, we believe in the discipline of order, and with discipline comes victory. And so we just
I love it.
following the old principles that are linked to a lot of promises. So we are very firm believers in that, and we just want to continue to focus on that.
That's wonderful. And if you don't mind me asking, do you and your wife, do you guys create together? Are you guys like in this business together? Is because I know she's an actress herself, correct, and a vocalist and an artist. And do you guys? Is this something that you guys do together or separately?
Yeah, no, this is definitely something that we do together,
That's
fortunately, and
beautiful.
we're very privileged to do so. And we say it like our gifts complement each other, not just personally, but professionally, where she wants to be in front, I want to be behind the camera. So we're kind of like yin to our yang, and, with it, we're complementary to one another. So it just works, and we like working together, and we have a great time doing so. And we literally do everything together. but we love it, and we're very grateful for it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I got to tell you, here in La La Land, it's very hard to find a genuine woman and or man, whatever your sexual orientation may be. Because I believe, with social media, everything that people see on social media, and it's just, I believe it's a bad apple, and people always think that there's something better or something bigger that they want to get, but they don't realize what love actually is and how far love can get you in life. So I
Yeah,
commend you.
and
And
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say, yeah, it's very true. It's so true, and not just that, but especially when you have such complementary gifts as we do, it's easy to find yourself in a position where you seek to almost not intentionally, but maybe unintentionally taking advantage of each other in that regard. And that was something that from day one, when we first got together, I was going through a very personal, tormenting time. And first thing that she did is she quit the career from her perspective in order to help me ground myself up again. And I'll never forget this day and I've never shared this publicly, but you're privileged to have the story here
well,
on
thank
your
you.
podcast, as I'm privileged to be on it. So no, thank you for
We're
having me on.
privileged to have you.
Yeah, so she literally stayed, I kid you not, at a Dunkin' Donuts, outside on the chair, like sitting outside on the little patio that they have, the whole entire day. It was something like 10 to 12 hours,
Wow.
and she just waited. She waited for me patiently there and helped me through the phone, but she just waited and waited. And I told her I would never forget that day, because it's like she could have gotten tired, she could have been complacent, she could have complained. She didn't do any of that. She was just so willing. She was like, what else do I have to do? And we actually went through some real hard times together as well, in the beginning, and we actually ended up sleeping in the car and things like that. And I'm not afraid to share that we've come out stronger on the other side, but it just
Yeah.
goes to show that if there wasn't true love, and this is what I'm trying to get at, the secondary of our gifts and our abilities to help each other, that's just secondary. The love there is so real that I don't think would have gotten. I don't think she would have gotten through what we certainly did if we didn't have that to support and to help each other. And that was kind of like, as my dad said, we kind of proved our characters to one another through the trials, and we're so
Absolutely.
grateful for them because of that. So.
No, absolutely. And I commend you guys sincerely. And you're a lucky man, and she's a lucky woman as well. And for you guys to have to go through that. And I sincerely appreciate you sharing that on our podcast. And, it's interesting too, because you think about it and you hear a lot of, stories about actors and actresses and models and artists and writers and directors and producers and so forth, who do come out here to Hollywood, to Los Angeles, and they get chewed up and spit out really fast. And some of these, unfortunately, but it's the truth, some of them do end up becoming homeless.
Yeah.
And they were chasing a dream that, that they had, and I commend them for chasing the dream. But it's very honorable that you guys, you've experienced the ups and downs and the highs and the lows and the good days and the bad days and the happy days and the sad days. And I think that's wonderful. And that leads into my next question for you. It sounds like you have a very loving household and an amazing wife to compliment you and for you to compliment her. But what is it on your downtime when you're not creating, and also during this horrific pandemic that we've been in our country for almost a year now, come March? But what is it that you do to stay sane?
Yeah, it's a very important question. Actually, I think you hit um, something very relevant to everybody going through right now. For us, we're very big outdoorsy people. So walking, hiking, and with the COVID-19 restrictions now, a lot of these places and the parks and the hiking trails, they've shut down. So as much as we possibly can, we try to go on walks. That for us is not only a time to connect, but a time to disconnect. We connect with each other and we disconnect from everything else. And
Say a little bit more about that when you say connect and disconnect with each other.
Yeah, so life sometimes can just it's easy to get swept away by the slow drifting currents of life, and whether that's children, which that's a whole nother subject, or just the mundane necessities and trials of life in and of itself. So it's easy to drift away from each other from that perspective, and not to prioritize the priority that you should have with each other, and especially in your household. So for us, the long walks, when we go on long walks, and I'm talking like an hour, an hour and a half or
Oh,
so.
wow.
Yeah,
Fuck, I walk down the street to get my chewing tobacco at the 7-Eleven. It's a block away and I'm fucking out of breath.
yeah. we so not a lot of people like to do that, but that's for us is what works. I've heard people, they go on to the beach or dates or whatever it may be, but for us, that's one way. And we used to, like I said, we used to go hiking and doing more outdoorsy type of things like that, but nowadays it's pretty much just walking. So when we go on walks, it's our time to connect with one another, right?
Mhm.
And it's to check in and to say, how are you? How are you truly? How do you feel? What's
Mhm.
on your mind? What's bothering you? What are some of the things you are feeling overwhelmed by? And then just to listen, and then, to reciprocate, and then to connect with each other in that regard. And then to disconnect from all of the troubles and the trials of the day of life and things that are consuming us, and to vent, because there's an appropriate place for that as well, because you don't want to, we have this kind of a rule where we don't throw our trash onto one another. We don't just come home and say, this is what I'm feeling, blah, 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 blah. And it's
Right.
like, oh,
Fuck you, bitch. I'm going to sleep.
yeah, exactly. And a lot of people go through that, unfortunately, and we've been fortunately given some tools that for us has helped us tremendously. And we're very humbled and privileged to have acquired them. And one of them is just you appropriate a time for you to be able to express yourself where you're feeling like you're detoxing it and expressing. But then you're doing in a setting where they are expecting you to express, and then it doesn't come across like, oh, it's just about you expressing, and there, I don't have the chance to do the same. And then there's not an alignment. It's more about venting and dumping your trash on the other person, as opposed to connecting and helping each other carry each other's burdens. And that's where the walking is really significant for us, because it gives us time to check in and to do that. We also do reading together. And, sometimes we'll read actually
Wait,
together.
you do what together?
Reading.
Reading?
Yeah.
Like you each read a sentence or a paragraph and then it's the next person's turn, or you each read a page or a chapter, or tell me about this fucking thing. Holy shit.
Yeah, something along those lines. So if we're in the same book, then we'll read the chapter together, and then we'll take some time afterwards to discuss it and see what we got out of it. Or if we're reading different books or different things, and we come together after the time period that we've designated to read, and we'll share what we've read and how that enhances and how we can apply to life. And so just those are some minute little ways. We have different ones, but those are some minute little ways in which we stay sane and we keep each other as the priority, and healthy, as the relationship, like I said, the marriage, as one of the most important things after God in our lives.
Absolutely, and I think from your mouth to God's ears, it truly is a beautiful thing, and you sound so genuine and so happy, and you seem to be in such an incredible, amazing marriage, and I sincerely, it's just a pleasure to have you on the show. I've got so many fucking questions for you. I'm pulling my hair out of my head. I'm about to light my cigar here. But anyway, backtrack real fast about what you had just said about the reading, because I'm still sitting here fucking twirling my thumbs like, what? You guys read together? Like, okay, so is it kind of too like something where you're trying to see, okay, well, we both read the same chapter. Now let's see how we each interpreted it. Is that kind of how, am I in the right, am I in the right ballpark, or am I out in the Pacific Ocean somewhere?
Yeah, sometimes it's about interpreting. Sometimes it's just sharing. Sometimes if we're reading together, it's just about exposing the context, but more importantly, just how it applies to us. Because we're not reading to become, expert readers, or, just how do I say, a computer where we're just downloading facts for the sake of downloading facts. We're reading things that are more targeted towards enhancement of our first walk with God, then our walk with each other. Because look, I can say all these things and it sounds beautiful, but the reality is that marriage is hard work.
Very fucking hard.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest relationships to upkeep, but at the same time we believe that it's one of the most beautiful ones as well, because nobody knows you like your spouse knows you. And at the same time, if you want to truly become, we believe, your full potential, there's nobody to better help you establish and to get there than your spouse, because they knows your ins and outs and your BS's, and
Right.
they're gonna catch you on your bull, and they're gonna say,
Right.
okay, you're just full of bull here, and I know you better than that. And so they're able to bring you to a place of reality really quickly. But it's not about that. It's about building each other up. So,
Right.
we use that as tools, the reading, I'm saying, to be able to help each other to grow. But we do that from a place of, we want to grow together, because I don't want to be ahead of her or have her behind me, or vice versa, have her be ahead of me and then me behind her. So one of the ways that we make sure that we're in alignment and we're on the same page in regards to everything, from the way we manage and spend our money to the way we clean our house, and who has the responsibility of doing what is expected of one another. We even have keywords for when we get mad at each other. If we've reached that boiling point where it's like, look, there's no place to talk right now, we have a keyword that we use in order to say, that's my time, I need space. And we have, rules. And so these are some of the things that we've acquired, long story short, from our reading, from our, workshops that we've put ourselves through. And we do all these kind of silly things that may seem minute, but to us, they're very significant. That just helps enhance our relationship, from an intimate point of view to a just natural and casual point of view, to even how to manage our fights. And, when we are in real big, deep waters, how do we navigate ourselves out of there together? Because that's the point. I don't want to lose my wife, and I hope she doesn't want to lose me either.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
it's hard work, but
Very hard work.
yeah, we believe in prioritizing that above all other relationships, and I think God honors us for it. And we love it. We're very privileged, and we're very blessed to have each other. And those are just some of the little things that we do.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's wonderful. And I think, a lot of couples, not only husband and wife, but also people that are dating, people that are engaged, and people that are married. I think, those that are listening to our show right now, Vinicius has brought up a lot of points that, can even fucking help me, as a matter of fact. And I think, can help a lot of people in terms of relationship, because nowadays I feel that, a lot of people can be selfish in a relationship, or it's all about me, or it's all about me, that kind of a thing. And, if you can find a way to work as a partnership and get on the same page with one another, I think it's only going to make the relationship stronger. And I think that's what you guys are focusing on with your marriage. And I think it's fucking genius. That being said, I think what you and your wife are doing, and you and your family are doing, is very amazing, to say the least. And so last night, before the New Year's Eve celebration began, I was watching the news for just a little bit, and it's something that I want to ask you that I believe is so fucking true. And when you hear the media talk about COVID-19 and this pandemic that we've been in for almost a year, I feel that the media only talks about the tragic COVID deaths, okay? But I'm asking myself, as I'm drinking my wine, I'm like, why the fuck don't they talk about the suicide rates, the drug addictions, the alcoholism, as well as the depression? And most importantly, our children. Because what I'm thinking about as I'm listening to this on the news is that and something that you obviously know because you sound like a very intelligent man and you're very family oriented, but socialization is something that's very important for humans, especially our children.
Yes.
And these kids, they're interviewing these children that are doing this homeschooling, and they're saying that these children, when they interview the parents, that the children are becoming depressed, and they would be in sixth grade testing at an eighth grade level, but now they're in sixth grade testing at a fifth grade level, and they're becoming depressed, and they get ants in their fucking pants, and this, that, and the other. But I wanted to ask you, if you don't mind, how do you feel about how the media has been handling the COVID-19 news and the numbers and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, you struck a chord there for sure. It's been very difficult as it is, and then I feel like the media has been very biased and uninforming us of, even as you're pointing out, some of the solutions. They focus more on the problems and the outcomes of what has happened to us. And as you mentioned, children, they're hard enough as it is. I
Yes.
love, our children to death, but it's difficult. It's very extremely difficult having them 24/7 at home without, I wouldn't even say from the perspective of just having them home by them by themselves. It's not about that. It's about the fact that they're not being educated in a way that they should be, but they're also not getting that proper socialization, as you mentioned, that they
Right.
also, that it is also very crucial, scientifically proven, that children do best when they are around other peers and
Yes.
when they're together with other children, and then but when they're in a position to, and in a structured place where they have teachers. Because let's be frank, I'm not a teacher, as much as I can teach my kids from experience and what I know, but I'm not a teacher. So,
Right.
it's difficult. My wife is not a teacher either. So for us to sit down and teach them as best as we can, but then to do so consistently where it actually helps their progress forward in an educational point of view, it's extremely difficult. And not to have more sources from the media's point of view, or at least some sort of a guide or direction towards helping us to cope with the situation that we have at hand. It's daunting. It's
Right.
very difficult. It's very extremely difficult.
No, absolutely. And that's what I was thinking last night. It's like, okay, well, give us a fucking plan, right? Like, tell us the fucking plan that you have for, these children to go back to in-person schooling where they can get the student teacher one-on-one attention that every child, every student needs and wants and deserves, right? Like you said,
Right.
and you pin the tail on the donkey. I mean, teachers are teachers and they're paid to teach. Parents are parents. Parents are not teachers and teachers are not parents. I sincerely believe that the child needs to be in the classroom with the teacher, getting the answers that they have from the teachers for the questions that they have from the students. If a student doesn't understand how to do a math problem, well, he or she can raise his hand and boom, the teacher comes right to the desk and says, "Oh, hi, Johnny. How can I help you? What do you need help with?" Well, Mrs. Smith, I don't understand how to solve this math problem. Can you please show me how? So I believe it's very different to have that intimate sort of, so to speak, that one-on-one, face-to-face, personable learning experience for the children versus them sitting at a computer from 8:45 in the morning to 2:45 in the afternoon, staring at a screen. And, they got to figure something out because, it's not a healthy way for a child, our future of this, of our world, to be receiving in education. And that's my, 2 cents on that.
Yeah, the environment counts too, so when they're home and they're in their pajamas and, like you said, they're just sitting on a computer screen, what are they associating cognitively with um, their educational, or even go far beyond that, their identity, right? They're not learning
Right.
differentiations of times, of places, of settings, of order, of all of these other things that come with just the simple basic principle of going to a school where there are, it's like
Yes.
showing up to a job. Yes, nowadays you can do it from home and so forth and so on. But if you've never had the experience and you've never been walked through the discipline of actually showing up or actually clockling or responsibilities, it's like all of that
Absolutely.
seems to be fading away because they're just sitting home watching a TV, if you will. And, what is that associating in our brain? And look, I'll be honest, I don't know all of the terminologies or scientifically or psychologically or none of that. But what I'm seeing is that it's not completely appropriate for them to be home. So I'm hoping that the schools are going to open up, or at least that there's going to be a better plan than just Zoom meetings, which they've been helpful. And I'm very grateful for them, but there needs to be more because we're going into almost a year of doing this now, and they are in such a need for the socialization, the schools,
Absolutely.
and all of that. So I'm hoping things will change very soon.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that leads, to what I'm about to say here is that, I'm sure, there's a lot of fucking parents out there who are like, fuck, I need to hire a tutor to tutor me, to tutor my child or my children.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's, I'm sure there's some homework questions that the children have and they ask their parents, and the parents don't even know the fucking answers. So there's got to be some kind of structure. There's got to be a plan in place. And at the end of the day, yes, safety comes first. That's obvious. We all fucking get that. But the children have to be in the classroom with the teachers. That's my 2 cents. So you, my friend, being from Brazil, I can only imagine that you're a huge, huge soccer fan. And with that said, am I correct? You're a huge soccer fan?
Oh, huge.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. That's what a fucking sport. How you play for 90 minutes and the score is 0-0. Boring. No, I'm just kidding. So anyway, who's your favorite team, your favorite soccer team, Vinicius?
Nationally, my country, Brazil. So, but club-wise, FC Barcelona. I've been a huge Messi fan, and I'll have to admit it publicly. I think Messi is better than Neymar, has always been. But I've always been a fan of FC Barcelona. I've actually been to their stadium, Camp Nou. Yeah, and it's an incredible stadium. And but yeah, I've always been a big fan of the team, and so FC, and then Brazil is my national team.
That's great. Yeah, they say that Neymar Jr., he's kind of a pop star and he's not really a soccer player. Would you agree with that, being from Brazil and him playing for your Brazilian soccer team?
I understand the summary. Yeah, I don't know if I would say it that way, but I understand how he would be defined that way. Yes.
Okay. All right, and then I'm going to put you on the hot seat here for a second. Who do you think will win the next World Cup then?
Come on, man. Brazil. That's a no-brainer.
Okay, Brazil. So we heard it here first, folks. Vinicius Zorin-Machado has predicted that Brazil will win the next World Cup. I hope you're right. I hope you are right. So also, too, what are you looking forward to most in 2021, Vinicius?
Just to continuing being a better human being, first and foremost, and then a better husband and a better father, and then a wiser artist, if I can say it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. And then every show we have 2 big topics that I discuss, and every week with our guests, our very special guests, we talk about 2 topics, and they're 2 big topics, and they change every week. And the 2 big topics that I want to discuss with you today, the first one would be the rap music from the 90s. Would you agree that the rap music from the 90s is the best rap music? And if so, yay or nay? And also, who is your favorite rapper?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, yay, 100%. 90s rap music is the best it's ever been. Favorite rapper from the 90s, hands down, Tupac. Yeah, and then Biggie, Big Pun. I mean, there's so many.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to, bring it up this week on the You Gotta Be Bullshilling Me podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Is 90s rap music the best rap music ever? And Vinicius Zorin-Machado agrees that it is. Brian C. Schilling, your host, also agrees that it is. Today's rap music to me is very Mickey Mouse. And the rap music from the 90s and the artists and the rappers that you mentioned, that you brought up, were genius. The way that they were able to put their songs together and their tracks together and their beats together. By far, the rap music from the 90s is the best. I mean, fucking Snoop Dogg, look at the guy. I mean, he's fucking smoking blunts in all his music videos, and he's driving in cars that got the hydraulics on it, and the fucking car is going up and down the street. It's like, how fucking awesome is that? Like, shooting in Long Beach and, like the poverty areas of Los Angeles, like Skid Row. And I mean, it's just, it's amazing. And that gets me to something too, because you saw a lot of what they were wearing in those rap videos, not only the rappers themselves, but also the people that were in the videos. And that brings up cross colors. When you were younger, did you ever wear cross colors? Were you ever into that hip hop scene, and did you ever wear cross colors?
Yeah, it was big in my upbringing. Yeah, for sure, I did. Yes.
Yeah, that was good. Chris Cross will make you jump. Daddy Mac will make you jump. That's great. That's great. So that's the first topic. And the second topic, Vinicius, is, and you don't have to necessarily answer if you don't want to, but I sincerely hope that you do. With all due respect, the second topic is, have you ever used a penis pump in your life?
Uh-oh. I don't think there's a man out there who hasn't.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I used the penis pump for the first time when I was in college, and I got to tell you something. I've never seen my dick that big in my life. It literally swelled up so big. The head was enormous. The veins were about to pop out, and then it lasted for like 5 minutes, and I'm like, what the fuck happened? So, but yeah, so no, I appreciate your honesty. I think, a lot of men have tried the penis pumps. They're wonderful. They're great, especially if you want to impress a woman before, you start smacking skin. So that's great. And are you a boxers, briefs, or a man thong kind of a guy, Vinicius?
I'm a free baller. Free
baller. Wow. So no boxers, no briefs, no man thong, no nothing?
No, nothing.
Wow. So
yeah.
How do you protect your boys? You got to protect your boys.
My wife protects my boys.
Okay. That's good. I love it. All right, well,
say that with the penis pump, I've learned, and I'm not trying to get into it too much, but just to say that, my wife cares so much more about the way I connect with her than that. And I know it's part of mainstream culture to believe that if you're bigger or something like that. I've discovered, and I've been very privileged again, and I'm not trying to be so cliche about it, but I'm very privileged to not only be very how do I say it, comfortable in my own skin today, but to know that I'm comfortable in my wife's skin too, with the way that I give myself over to her, and not so much with the size that I can bring or something along those lines. So
yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I'm the kind of guy too where I'll go on the beach and I'll wear a man thong. I don't care. I got it. I might as well flaunt it, right? I don't care. Look like Borat on the beach. I'm like, Brian C. Schilling, the next Borat in Hollywood. Here he comes, baby. So again, I sincerely want to thank you so much for coming on the show, and I want to ask you, how can all of our listeners find you on social media if they're already not following your sexy ass?
Well, I appreciate you having me on again on You Gotta Be Bullshilling Me podcast. I'm a fan of your work. Love what you do. Love your heart. Love the way you're touching and inspiring people. People can follow us on Zorin-Machado. It's our last name, Zorin-Machado, on all social media. But, follow us. We'll follow back. And spread the love together. And, life is a mission, not so impossible if you believe. So that's our motto. Yeah. And, thank you again for having me on.
No, thank you. Thank you. I love it. And like you said, life is a mission that's not so impossible. Your quotes that you've had and your vocabulary that you have is just, it's unbelievable. You make me look like a fucking degenerate. But anyway, I love it. I love you all. Vinicius, thank you so much again for joining us today. We'll definitely have you back on our show down the line. Next week, we also have another very special guest. Also, if you would like to be a guest on our show, you can email thinkschilling@gmail.com, and also follow us on all social media @thinkschilling. And Vinicius, again, thank you so much. I wish you and your family nothing but the best to come in 2021. And until then, fart when you need to fart. Don't say excuse me. And this is Brian C. Schilling, your host of the You Gotta Be Bullshilling Me podcast. Until then, peace the fuck out. Vinicius, love you and thank you so much.
Love you. Thank you so much again.
Thank you. Have a great 2021, and we'll have you on soon.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Peace out.